I think this is a very important speech, and it comes also in the same day that Lord Walney will be discussing the levels of extremism by groups such as the organisers of these demonstrations. This comes not a moment too soon. The levels of anti-Jewish race hate attacks are through the roof and utterly unprecedented. We have marches all over the place continuing. It's not just something that causes Jewish Londoners to want to avoid going into town. It also deeply affects anybody who wants to go into town and, of course, the residents who live in those areas. So this is very welcome indeed.
Do you think the police are doing enough in this field, Mark?
I think the police are between a rock and a hard place. It seems to me that if you declare your disruption of public life a protest, look at me, I'm mounting a protest. I'm allowed to disturb the peace. I'm allowed to block people going about their daily life. As long as I call it a protest, it's fine. We can't go on like this.
Can you explain to listeners why is it so offensive, the river to the sea chant?
The river to the sea chant does not come in isolation. There's also globalize the Intifada. And the Intifada basically means the resistance against Israel. At the front of the demonstration, there are banners calling for a victory to the resistance. And Hamas literally is the Islamic resistance movement. There is no doubt from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. It's a call for the destruction of Israel. If they wanted peace, they would call for peace. These demonstrations have never, ever called for peace. Never. They could say from the river to the sea, peace for Israelis and peace for Palestinians, peace for you, peace for me. They're not interested in it. Their entire motivation is the destruction of the state of Israel. There are Palestinian leaders of these movements who, of course, they have every right to campaign on behalf of Palestine, as does anybody. But for the far left organizations that are involved in this, their sole goal is the destruction of the state of Israel as part of their wider war against the West.
As we speak, lastly, there are demonstrations, protests taking place on campuses up and down the country, literally the whole of the United Kingdom. What would you say to those students?
I think ultimately, do you know what? It's just a few numpties who want to have this fantasy role play that they're revolutionaries. The rest of the students can't be bothered with it. It completely gets in their way. It's causing things like the graduation ceremonies to be cancelled or to be moved from where they would usually occur. I think these kids need to grow up and understand just exactly what it is that they're standing for. They're standing on the side of Hamas. They're standing on the side of jihadi revolution, along with far left revolution. Now, if that's the kind of society that they want to live in, then good luck to them. But I think the rest of us don't want to live in that.
I'm really disappointed that you didn't challenge him.
Why?
Well, he called students numpties.
Right.
Now, any pro-Palestinian caller that you might have, or somebody who's against the IDF, you seem to challenge him really well. But from the river to the sea, you didn't challenge him.
Well, it is in the view of that particular gentleman, and perhaps more importantly, the Levelling Up Secretary, who's going to call for the police to take more action.
But my point was, from the river to the sea, you know as well as I do, that's referring to going back to the borders.
Yes.
It's nothing to do with the eradication of Israel.
Well,
so I'm unsure why you didn't challenge him.
Well, let me read you the words of Michael Gove. The focus is on the delegitimization and demonization of the state as Israel as a prelude to its dismantlement and destruction. Those are the words of Michael.
But you didn't challenge him. But
hold on a second. That wasn't Michael. That was Michael Gove who's saying that, and that is what Mark Gardner. That's what and what a lot of Jewish people believe. It is an offensive set of words or slogan.
Well, it is offensive when you don't explain what it actually means. And you know, Nick, you are very, very intelligent. You just did not challenge him.
Well, because I asked him what it means to him and he explained it.
But that's not what it means.
Well, that's what he thinks it means.
But you know that's not what it means, Nick.
No, I'm going to say...
Okay, so him calling students numpties. Let's take on that for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking from the river to the sea. Well, he's allowed to have that. It doesn't mean I share. I mean, some people have been having views on Rishi Sunak about his handling of this. I'm allowed to hear those views. Just because it goes on air doesn't mean I support everything you hear on air, does it?
Yeah, I suppose so. But yet, any pro-Palestinian person comes on, you are straight on their back, challenging them. You just didn't challenge him.
Because I'd asked him what it means to... Sorry, about the numpties. Is that,
numpties calling intifada, that means the eradication of Israel? No, that's not what it means. Well, you know it doesn't mean that.
I'm sorry, Raj. If I ask somebody, what does it mean to you? And then they say, what it means to me is X, Y, Z. I'm not then going to say, well, no, it doesn't. Because I've just asked him what it meant to him.
One's opinion
yes,
is
indeed.
absolutely their opinion. But you do challenge. That's what you normally do.
From the river to the sea is actually in the Likud Party charter.
Okay.
So it's perfectly fine for us Israeli to say it. That basically, to me, if you're saying that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, is anti-Semitic, what is it then?
Respectfully, I mean, I defer to Mark Gardner, who is the chief executive of the... let me speak, then we'll do it that way. Who is the chief executive of the campaign, of the Community Security Trust. So he's closer to it than I am, respectfully. So I'm going to listen to him, aren't I, Adam?
I'm closer to it. My granddaughter, remember me, is in one of the peace camps. The other day, guess what? A load of right-wings turned up in a taxi and abused her. They told her she was the wrong kind of Jew. It's people like Mark Gardner that know nothing about it.
I don't know why you'd say he knows nothing about it, Adam.
Well, because he doesn't experience it from the other side. He only sees it in his own little... Oh,
Adam,
us little...
Adam,
No, you listen to me, Nick Ferrari.
No, I'll do it this way. I'm sorry. What you don't realise is when I do that, I turn you down. He's a Jewish man who's attended university in this country. He knows far more than I do, Adam.
My daughter's a Jewish girl.
Okay, but you can't say he knows nothing and he's divorced from it.
I see what I mean. You always go away from the subject. The original subject is it acceptable for an Israeli living in Israel to say, wipe out the Palestinian people?
Okay, Adam, that man spends his working life every day in this field. I don't. Obviously, I'm going to defer to him. Obviously, he's got greater knowledge than I have. Of course the man does. And he's telling me, as indeed Michael Gove, and I would imagine, knowing Gove, that he's done a lot of research, that from the river to the sea is anti-Semitism because it's calling for the erasure, the wiping out of Israel.
So from the river to the sea, Israel is all you will see. It's calling for what, Mr. Ferrari?
I defer to Mark Gardner. If he tells me that, I'm not going to try and gainsay him. He knows far more than I do.
And I know far more than you do because you won't even approach the subject of that statement or similar statement in the Likud Party manifesto charter. That's fine, is it?
What is your daughter...
To wipe out a race.
What is your daughter... No, of course it's not fine to wipe out.
Oh, precisely.
That's
exactly what the charter of the Likud Party says.
What is it your daughter's campaigning for?
Peace.
And how does she say it's going? Are more people joining? I appreciate you probably don't want to tell me that
more people are starting to see. And him calling my daughter left-wing, she's not actually left-wing. She's quite conservative, to be honest with her. My granddaughter, sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry, your granddaughter, I apologise. Right,
and
go ahead.
Basically, ninnies or nutters or whatever he wants to call them.
He used the word...
got an opinion.
He used the word numpties was his actual word.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
Just because he's got an opinion. My granddaughter's got her opinion. Right. She's living it.
Okay.
And that's why I am living it, because my granddaughter has to ring me up and ask me, am I the wrong kind of Jew?